So, hey guys, this is Saheli, and today with me I have a very, very special guest. A lot of you already know her because I know that you are freelancers, wannabe freelancers, and this is Alex Cattoni. Now, if you don't know her, Alex Cattoni is a terrific copywriter. In fact, very lately, she actually gave a speech at AdWorld conference, which is like the biggest event for marketers. And congratulations for that. I've been following Alex for 2 years now. I started following her when I started my marketing journey and realized that copywriting is important. But she has helped so many people become copywriters with her signature programs, which we will talk about in a little bit. But welcome to my channel, Alex. And thank you so much once again for agreeing to do this.
Yes, of course, Helly. Thank you so much for having me here. I'm excited to hear you say that you started following me 2 years ago, because I feel like that is really when I started my channel. I started my channel two years and 2 months ago, basically. So you've been with me since the beginning. So thank you for supporting me.
I've been there to see your journey. Like you talk a lot about your journey from Mind Valley days to launching your signature programs and gaining so much momentum with it, and to lately being featured in Forbes. So it's been a long journey. Could you please introduce yourself and talk a little bit about your journey from Mind Valley to today as a seven-figure entrepreneur?
Yeah, absolutely. So I started in the whole marketing world like many people do as an employee. Very blessed to have worked one of the leading personal growth publishers online. But back when I worked at Mind Valley in 2000, I started there in 2008. I was fresh out of university, planning to go to law school, actually. So I had a major in business law and economics from a business school here in Canada. And then I thought, you know what, I'm just going to put that on hold for a year and I'm going to travel. Like I need to find myself and, eat, pray, love style. So I was like, okay, I'm going to find a job overseas. That led me down the rabbit hole to finding Mind Valley. Back then, Mind Valley was basically a startup. It had, I think maybe let's say between 10 and 15 employees. It was, a small, very, very tight-knit group of entrepreneurial minded people. All at the same time, I learned about copywriting, online marketing, personal development. So to say that I drank the Kool-Aid of like Tony Robbins events, and I was going to marketing masterminds, and I was reading books from Seth Godin, and I was like diving in, learning as much as I possibly could. And then in 2011, actually, mostly due to some health issues, I'm celiac, which means I can't have wheat or gluten. And I was living in Asia and didn't know that I was celiac. And I got very, very ill. And as a result of that, I decided it was time to come back to Canada, universal healthcare and being close to my family. And unfortunately had to leave Mind Valley, which of course, now is the best decision ever. At the time, it felt very scary because I was the creative director of the company by the time I had left. I started as a customer support intern. 3.5 later left as the creative director, but knew it was time for me to leave, and basically went from being sort of the star employee at this very fast growing company to sleeping on an air mattress from Walmart in my friend's spare room, and kind of had to start from scratch. And that's when I started doing marketing consulting, looking for clients. And then over time, I never considered myself a copywriter because I learned from the greats, the legends, the big name copywriters that, I looked up to for so long. I felt weird calling myself a copywriter, but I would do marketing consulting. And then my clients would start asking me, well, do you know how to do copywriting? And I would go, well, I could try, I know what it is. I could try. And then that really started this whole progression of, oh, wait, I think I can write copy, and then getting results for my clients. And then for eight years, all I did was work behind the scenes, working with personal development brands, writing copywriting and helping them grow their business. So that was like 2012 to 2011 to 12 to 2019 when I started my YouTube channel. And that was just a whole other experience after that.
Uh-huh. I have seen videos where you have talked about how it was hard for you to start showing up on video because you've been behind the scenes for so long. And I'm assuming that's one of the biggest hurdles that you've overcome now, because when I see your videos, you're so excited to share the knowledge. And I'm like, let me bring my notebook. I'm taking these down. So what was that journey like? That was a big transformation in my opinion. So could you talk
Yeah,
about it? Mm-hmm.
absolutely. I think there's this hope that when people decide that they want to start creating video content, that they're going to snap their fingers and immediately be good on video. It was a major fear of mine because, like you said, I was behind the scenes in business for 8 years, which served me. You know, my values at the time were freedom, flexibility. I was able to travel the world. I had a handful of clients. I only had like one client weekly call. And then that was it. I didn't have to create regular content. I wasn't like committed. You know, I was a freelancer, right? I was a 6-figure freelancer and I had a handful of really great clients and I was living the life. But, you know, I got to the point where I was like, okay, I saw what was happening in the online marketing space. I started to notice a lot of, I like to say douchey, but it is douchey, like douchey marketing. And I'm thinking, people are getting so jaded from this. I started being nervous to tell people that I did copywriting because then in people's minds, they're like, oh, so you're the one that like writes all those emails that I get in my inbox every day, like spam emails. And I'm like, what? No, right? So I thought I have something to say about this. And I had thought about starting a YouTube channel for about a year and I kept putting it off. And you'll find the most creative excuses to not get started. For me, I didn't know what I was going to put on my wall behind me. And I thought, I cannot start my YouTube channel until I have the perfect background. And finally, one day I said, screw it. I went to the local bookstore. I bought some generic quotes, got them framed in like frames from IKEA, like nothing fancy. And I still to this day haven't changed it. And I think, you know, it's just, you find really creative ways to get in your own way. And I was super nervous. I remember the first video I did, it just felt very uncomfortable. Of course, everyone watching goes, you were great, but I knew I was uncomfortable. And there's certain videos now that I can't even watch because I'm trying so hard to like be professional and like, okay. And I'm talking slower than I normally talk. And I'm a fast talker. And I realized as soon as I just got comfortable with just being who I am in front of the camera, that's when I really started to grow my channel because people were connecting with who I was. But it takes practice. Like you can't just turn on the camera and be like, hey, immediately, you know, it takes time.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm so glad that you had started your YouTube channel because otherwise I wouldn't find you. Otherwise, so many people wouldn't be the terrific copywriters that they are. So, Alex, you help people become copywriters with your channel, your free content, and also your paid content. Now, I know that the people who watch my channel, they are wannabe freelancers who want to be a freelancer because they love the freedom or the money, whatever. They're totally free to choose. But since I'm from India and a lot of my audience is from India as well, and I can guarantee you Indians are some of the most hardworking people out there.
Absolutely.
But since we come from a country that was kind of exploited for a long time, we have this mentality that we deserve to be paid less. Like $200, $300 in India is considered decent salary on a monthly basis. All right.
Wow.
Like
Yeah.
if you're making $500 in India monthly, that's huge. Like for most people, if you're just out of college and making that kind of money, people will really respect you. So for someone like me working in dollars, and now thankfully I'm closing in on 6 figures, I know that there were a lot of mental blocks that even those who are watching us may have, that what if people judge us for our accent? What if people judge us by our nationality? So could you tell them how they can rewire this mindset? Because I know that you have taught people worldwide. So how do we overcome this mindset?
Yeah, absolutely. I echo what you said. I mean, I've worked with so many incredible Indians, and they are some of the most hardworking and incredibly talented people that I've had the pleasure of working with. And I think it's unfortunate that, like you said, it's that many companies have exploited the sort of cheap labor or whatever you want to call it. And that mindset would be so ingrained that it would be hard to reprogram out of. And I think, it's a normal emotion anyway. I think worth is something that a lot of people struggle with, and it just happens at different levels in different areas. And so it's, I can only talk from my own personal experience, which I know is completely different than what you've gone through. But I know for me, I think in order to change that mindset, you have to create evidence to the contrary, right? And the only way that you can create evidence to the contrary of whatever this belief is or whatever this programming has been, is to put yourself out there and set boundaries so that you know what you consider acceptable and what you don't. And yes, there'll be a lot of people that go, that's ridiculous. That's way too much. I can go on Fiverr and find that same level of work for this much. And you just go, okay, great, then go do that, but there's this level of kind of constant education, learning, and practice that also goes with the prices. So what I tell all of my students is, I know everyone wants that sweet spot of like, tell me exactly what I should charge. And the truth of the matter is, it depends on the type of client you have. It depends on the type of work you have. It depends on how bad you want the project, and even Seth Godin gave me and my community some advice the other day where he said, if you're just getting started, do it for free. I mean, I know that there's this misconception out there that you should never do free work. And I think, yes, you should never do free work if you are in fact being exploited for that work because it's not beneficial to you whatsoever. But if you can get your foot in the door working with a not-for-profit, or do type of work where you're actually feeling really good by donating your time so that you are gaining practice. And then once you're able to help a company get to that next level, you can then go say, hey, look, I helped this company raise this much money, or I helped this person do this type of launch. And then nobody can take that away from you, and nobody can tell you, no, you didn't, right? And if you don't have that experience yet, then my advice is to charge what you would feel comfortable doing it for. And I talk about something called a minimal acceptable price. So looking at all of the different factors, how bad you want the client, how amazing this client will look in your portfolio, how much experience and how this experience is going to help shape your future clients, all of that into consideration. What is the minimum amount that you would be absolutely happy and grateful to get in exchange for the work that's involved? And if you find yourself not honoring your own boundaries just to get the work, that's a really slippery slope the other direction. So you have to say to yourself, you know what, if I'm not getting paid at least $100 for this project or $1,000 for this project or whatever it is, then you're going to constantly accept less than that. And you're never going to create evidence to prove that there are, in fact, people out there and there are clients out there who are willing to pay you what you're worth. Absolutely, there are.
Mm-hmm. All right. Yeah, absolutely right. So for someone who's just starting off, what type of copy should they start by writing? Like what type of copy is most profitable and also like easier for beginners to start? Because there's so many types of copy, there's so many formulas that it's kind of overwhelming for someone starting off.
Totally. So I always say this on my channel. You've probably heard me say it, that I'm a copywriter and I can write copy for you is not a good sales pitch, right? Specificity is your friend when you are starting out doing anything, right? So if I'm, for example, a painter and I'm saying, yeah, I can paint. And they're like, well, what do you paint? Do you paint houses? Do you paint portraits? Do you paint like pictures? Like, what do you paint? It's like, I do everything. It's like, oh, but I'm looking for someone to paint my house. Do you do that? Sure. Why not? Right. It's not a good look because people want to hire specialists. So to be honest, everyone always wants to know what's the most profitable piece of copy. If you're taking everything at face value, you charge more for a sales page. So I could say you want to write sales pages. That is 100% what you're going to be able to make the most money doing. But if you are a specialist in writing homepage copy for a particular niche and a particular type of business, and you have so much experience in that niche, in that type of business, working with that type of client, and a client is looking for an expert in that area, then they're going to come to you, and you can charge way more than the average going rate for a homepage because you have the experience. So my advice is to think differently about not type of copy, but where can you specialize, where you can become an expert in it. You know, I have many students that took my entire program. They learned how to write a sales page, a landing page, ads and emails. And then they took what they enjoyed the most. And they go, okay, I'm going to now specialize in writing emails for e-commerce businesses, or I'm going to specialize in writing sales copy for wellness brands. And the more focused you can be, the more experience you'll get, the more specialized you'll be, and the more you can charge.
Yeah, absolutely agreed on that. But since you mentioned that sales pages pay the most, could you explain for our audience a little bit what is the difference between a sales page and a landing page? I think a lot of people get that confused.
Yeah, totally.
And where they can learn it.
Yeah, absolutely. So those are terms that are often used interchangeably. So I understand why there's confusion. Landing page just means any page where traffic lands. So technically, if you are sending traffic directly to a sales page, it is a landing page. But that to me gets confusing because you're saying, well, it's a landing page, but is it a sales page or is it an opt-in page? So I tend to use the word landing page to refer to opt-in pages. But if you're working with a client who's like, I want a landing page, make sure you're just clarifying. Oh, is the landing page for an opt-in of some sort of free gift or a masterclass or a webinar, or is this a sales page? So it's always good to be a bit redundant and get clarity. But the way I see it is landing page is where traffic lands, which in a lot of cases is not directly to the sales page unless you're doing any sort of retargeting. But if you're sending cold traffic, it's most of the time to a opt-in page where someone's entering their name and email address in exchange for something for free. A sales page is something that's directly selling something, or, directly asking for some sort of conversion that leads to a sale, whether that be to get on a free, consultation call, or to buy a program, or to apply for a membership program, anything that's really leading to the final conversion, which is to ultimately make more money. And of course, the reason you can charge more for that is if your sales page converts well, that is the asset that's going to make your client the most amount of money.
And where they can learn landing page, sales page writing, because they are very crucial to any business.
Yes, absolutely. So I have a ton of videos on my YouTube channel where I talk about landing pages and sales pages. I have a video on my landing page formula. I also have multiple videos on writing a sales page. So I think that's probably a really good place to start. I have playlists as well on like where to go if you want to start copywriting, and it starts you at the very beginning with the basics. I also have more of my tutorial playlists, which get a little bit more specific on the formulas and the formats of different copy pieces.
And could you also tell us a little bit about Write and Ignite Challenge? Because I know that it has helped so many people become better copywriters, write better landing pages, sales pages that convert so much better. So I've read all the success stories. So could you please introduce Write and Ignite Challenge to those who may not know about it? Yep,
absolutely. So one of my goals last year was to shake up the marketing world. And I found that there were so many really expensive copywriting courses. I mean, I have a higher level coaching program myself, but I thought, right now the entire world is shifting. It was, middle of a pandemic. And I know we're still in the middle of a pandemic. So that's not anything different or new, but so many businesses around this time last year were like freaking out, right? Like, how do I pivot? How do I move online? There were people who were losing their jobs, needing to be able to earn an income. So I thought, you know what? I'm going to release my highest level piece of content, which is my 16-step sales page formula, which up until the challenge was only ever given to my high-paying clients or members of my coaching program. And I thought, I want to give this tool to as many different people as possible so that businesses can pivot and start selling their products online and people can start freelancing and writing copy based on this formula and start making more money. So despite people telling me that I can't charge $97 because that is ridiculous, I charge $97 for what is really worth thousands of dollars of my sales page formula. But instead of just giving you the template, I put it into a 5-day challenge. It's 5 days of training stretched out over 10 days with some interviews and some juicy bonuses. But essentially, I walk you through everything you need to know to write a high converting sales page from scratch, all the way from like creating the brief to creating your wheel of persuasion, which is your indoctrination, the first half of your sales page, to how to craft an irresistible offer, to how to write hot headlines, and put it all together into a 5-day challenge that is now a self-study program, and it's available at any time. So anyone can go check that out.
I will link it in the description if anyone is interested, and I highly recommend you check it out, because 16-point sales page formula, you'll not get this anywhere just by Googling it online. And on top of that, I know for a fact that her copywriting skills are rad. Like you call your crew the raddest crew of copywriters, as far as I remember. Yeah. And yes, I'll link it in the description below. So one question that I have for you is, why do people pay so much for a copy? Okay, I know the answer myself, but I know that a lot of people still don't understand why is copy so valuable. So why should they learn copywriting? Like, even if they don't want to be technically a copywriter, I feel like it's a life skill.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, of course, I'm biased, but absolutely. I mean, if you think of it this way, right? Copywriting, you know, I think when people think of it, they think of like Mad Men, you know, where it's the executives on Madison Avenue writing Super Bowl commercials, which definitely is copywriting, kind of more on the advertising side of it. But the way I like to talk about copywriting is that it is words used for the sake of any sort of engagement or conversion online. And if you think of, and offline too, any business conversion, right? So if you think of every single touch point that a business has with its customers and prospects, whether that be email, whether that be social media captions, whether that be sales pages, website copy, any form of communication, which is, if you think about it, everything, right? Even sales calls are scripts that are written by copywriters. Videos are scripts written by copywriters, right? And every business on the planet needs words in order to work, right? I mean, show me one business that doesn't use words to sell in any capacity, whether that be spoken, written, right? So if you think about every business on the planet needs copywriters, that is such an opportunity for people who love to write to hone their craft into something that's very productive for clients who are willing to pay for it. Now, I think there's still a lot of education happening in the copywriting world. And obviously that's part of my mission, is to not only educate people on what copywriting is, but to also educate businesses on why it's so important. And with that, you know, there's something that's really important is I always say to people who are just starting businesses that you might not hire a copywriter right away, and that's okay. You don't need to hire a copywriter in order to launch a business. I always say the best copywriter in the beginning of a business is yourself, because nobody knows the business better than you. But a founder isn't, if the business is growing and the business is doing well, a founder of a business is not going to be writing copy for long, because you know, founders need to remove themselves from the business. And so that's when they really start looking for people to come on and support them in their brand voice and in their messaging. And they pay for it because it is literally the secret sauce to their sales. It is the messaging that carries a brand. It is the storytelling that makes your prospects connect with a brand. It is literally everything. And again, I'm biased, but it is everything.
It is definitely everything, because when I started my marketing journey, very soon I realized that I need to write better. Like I was a content writer before that, but then copy is very different from content. And yeah, I totally agree with you on that. And I don't think you're biased. It's just the truth. Like copy is everything. That's so true.
Thank you. I agree.
So I want to know a little bit about your journey from 5 to 6 figures and then 6 to 7 figures. What are the major changes that have happened in these two levels? Because I know that what gets you from here to there doesn't get you from there to here. So
Absolutely.
please do talk about it.
Yeah, great. I love this because I think for me it's very clear kind of the like the lines that I crossed, right? So when I first started my freelancing business, it was a lot of one-off projects, short-term projects, right? So I was very much in this mindset of like needing new clients. And I always had this like fear, like, oh my God, I have a client until 2 weeks from now, and then I don't have a client. What am I going to do? Right. So what took me from, let's say, like low 5 figures to 6 figures was getting higher level clients, and the clients who valued my work were willing to pay me what I was worth, and then also were able and excited to incentivize me for my work. So what I mean by that is I started off by one-off projects. And to me, it's always interesting, I think, in the beginning of freelancing, because people have this idea of like, I'm going to work with all these clients and I'm going to be like a high in demand copywriter or graphic designer or whatever it is that your freelancing skill set is. And they shy away from like full-time work. They're like, oh, I don't want full-time. And you're like, why don't, like, the way I see it is, why wouldn't you want a full-time client? Like, you want a client who wants to pay you like full-time. You only have one boss, not like 10 if you have multiple clients. Like, that is a dream. And so even though I know many of you are like leaving a 9 to 5 because you don't want that full-time, the beautiful thing about what's happening in the industry right now is companies that used to only hire in-house on site are now looking to hire remote because of what's happening in the world with COVID and the way that the workforce is changing. So what's happening is a lot of these big companies that used to hire locally are opening up their teams to a huge wide area of contractors, and having a business hire you, whether it be part-time or full-time, but on retainer, to me is the sweet spot that every freelancer should work towards, because it's that safety blanket, right? So that's what I did. Is I started working with a client who was looking for ongoing work on retainer. And it wasn't full-time, but it was part-time, and it was enough to get me out of that scarcity mindset of like fear, like, oh my God, I'm not going to find a client. Right. So then once I got that client, I was able to take on projects here and there. But if I had a couple of slower weeks, I wasn't freaking out. Right. And then what happened is I really focused on becoming indispensable and crazy value to this client over here. So much so that they started raising my retainer. Then they started giving me percentage of sales. Then they started, they were layering on basically the incentive, because copywriters become so invaluable to companies, because you are this one person. If they have one copywriter, there might be a team, but even still, you're responsible for literally the entire brand voice and messaging. And it takes a long time to teach a copywriter that. And so once they understand it, you don't want them to leave. So the goal of any freelancer is to start working with clients that are looking for ongoing support. And I will tell you a little secret. My first retainer client paid me $700 a month, which, for the amount of work I was doing wasn't a lot. But I knew that they really needed what I had. And so I was like, okay, $700 a month to start. That client now pays me way more than that. And I still work with them. They're one of my kind of grandfathered in clients that I still work with. And I now have equity in the company as well. So it was a slow growth, right? And so that was my journey from under let's say under or low five figures to 6 figures is when I realized that it's okay to only have 1 or 2 clients if they're clients that are high level and that you enjoy working with. Because I know it's kind of like, again, it's like this, you quit your 9 to 5 to be a freelancer. The idea of having freedom and having many clients is kind of sexy. And then you realize like, I traded one boss for 5. Am I crazy? Right. So I would say focus on being indispensable and invaluable and working with clients that see the value in having someone ongoing, right? And retainer based. Then my journey from 6 to 7, I would say my journey from like 6 to like mid 6 figures was very much part of what I said before. It was working on being indispensable to my clients to get them to the point where they couldn't afford to lose me. Then what I did is I started hiring writing help. So I hired a copywriter, and it wasn't an assistant. She is still my head copywriter and can write copy, just as good, if not better than me sometimes. And I brought her on board to basically help me with client work, because I thought, okay, if I'm going to scale, I need to be able to take on more high level clients, but I need to get support. So I started growing my team, and again, it was still very personal. I wouldn't say that I had a thriving agency or anything like that. It was me and one other person, but I was able to share the workload and then take on more clients. And then my journey from mid 6 figures to 7 figures really started when I started teaching and doing education and launching programs. And so it was sort of this slow build. I didn't go from quitting my job and sleeping on an air mattress to having a 7-figure business overnight. In fact, it took almost a decade. Could I have done it faster? Yes, totally. But it's slowly building up, getting to the first level and then going, okay, where do I have to go next? And what do I need to get there?
Mm-hmm. And that is so true. Like when we see entrepreneurs like sharing these rags to riches stories, especially in webinars, right? That they went from this to that within 2 years. And like, it's such a transformational thing. But we have to remember that most people, like most successful people, this doesn't happen in 2-3 years, but rather over a decade. And you're the perfect example to showcase exactly that. To end today's interview with you, I have the last question for you, after which we'll do a rapid fire.
Okay.
And the question is that, what would be your advice to someone who is starting off? They may have a little bit of idea that they like writing, but they are not sure whether copywriting is for them. What exact steps they should take towards actually becoming a freelancer?
Yeah, great question. So my advice would be start copywriting. If you already like writing, take that passion and start studying, whether it's my YouTube videos or programs or somebody else's, but start learning the ropes of copywriting. Because I think oftentimes people think, oh, I love writing, I'm going to love copywriting. And maybe that's not the case. But start practicing. I know for a fact that one of the ways that one of my top students started learning copywriting was finding sales pages and rewriting them and then sending them to potential clients and saying, hey, I rewrote your sales page for you. They might not get back to you. They might get back to you and go, wow, that's great. You really have some talent. And start building your portfolio. You don't need paid clients in order to build your portfolio. I've hired many writers who have been very open with me and have said, I have never been hired before, but I'm really passionate about writing. I love your brand, or if it's for a client, I love your client's brand. And here's the work that I've done. In fact, one of my absolute favorite team members, she works on a client project. She's from India, actually. She applied for a social media manager position, and all she had was a personal blog. She had no social media management experience, no copywriting experience, but she sent me her personal blog, and it was so well done. And I could tell that she had a flair for words. I don't care if 2 people saw her blog and it was like her mom and her dad, right? She was showcasing her flair for writing. And even though she had no paid copywriting experience, no paid social media management experience, I hired her to be a social media manager because I could see her creativity and her flair for writing. And so I think it's like breaking that idea that, like, I call it the copywriter catch 22. How do I get clients without a portfolio? And how do I build a portfolio without clients? You can absolutely build a portfolio without clients. You just have to be open and honest with your clients that you weren't paid or contracted to write that stuff. But I can tell you, most of the time, they don't care about that. They just want to see your work.
Exactly. I see so many people asking me stuff like, would I get a certificate after I finish this course? And I'm like, no one cares about that. Not in this industry, at least.
Yeah, I think I think in some cases it's helpful. You know, I give a certificate at the end of my Copy Posse Launchpad, but that's a 3-month program. This isn't like a self-study course that, you know, anyone could take and then not finish and then get a certificate. Like you have to finish. And I think in some ways it can be helpful, but I agree with you that your work will speak volumes and it's what's most important.
Yeah, no, I'm not talking about your course, and there are some really good courses out there, but there are also very random courses out there, to be honest, today.
Well, yeah, and there's some that say, oh, take this course and you'll be certified, but like there's no checks and balances in place, you know? And I think like to your point, business owners are aware of that. So while a certificate might feel really like, yeah, I'm certified, I think it's important as long as you have also the work to back it up, because a certificate with no work means nothing.
Absolutely. Totally agree with you on that. So we'll be ending with a quick rapid fire. All right.
Okay.
All right. So if you're ready for it, if you were not a copywriter, who would you have been?
I think I would have been a detective.
Why is that? I'm curious.
Because I'm obsessed with true crime and I'm like, I love solving puzzles. Yeah.
All right. I can totally relate to that. What's your favorite book about copywriting or that has helped you in copywriting?
Oh, for sure. Eugene Schwartz, Breakthrough Advertising. It's expensive. It's like $125, but a game changer.
What's your favorite type of copy to write?
Sales pages.
What's your favorite copy formula except your own?
Oh man. I follow ADA, you know, attention, interest, desire, action, because I think it applies to absolutely anything. You know, you need attention and then you need to build interest, then create desire before you get someone to take action. So I'm often referring to that and think about that in anything that I write.
All right. ADA is also pretty simple to learn, but so impactful. So anyone who doesn't know about ADA, you should learn it. What's your favorite movie?
I love Italian Job.
Oh, all right. That's cool. And lastly, who are the top 3 people who inspire you each and every day?
Oh, my 3 people who inspire me. For sure, my mom. I'm not just saying that because, you know, hi, mom. She's just a boss. She's a leader in her industry. And obviously I learned a lot from her. Who else inspires me? I'd have to say, oh my gosh. I mean, so many people.
There's so many people.
I would have to say, I mean, this is like a lot of people, but my students, like, I know that is not one particular person, but when I watch my students literally go from 9-to-5 job they hate to full-time freelancing career, I'm in awe of them. And so to all of my students, even those who are still kind of working at getting out of that 9-to-5, I'm just inspired by them every single day. And then third, I don't know, let's say Beyonce, because Beyonce.
Yeah, you don't need to give it.
No explanation needed.
All right, absolutely. All right, Alex, it was so awesome having you on my channel. Do you have any last words or any tips for the viewer who may be watching this and they are looking at you partly in awe because you're so terrific and partly with self-doubt that, can I do this? Like, is this for me? What would you want to tell them?
My advice to you would be, you're only going to know if it's right for you if you start. So please, 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 no matter what, whether it's copywriting or any sort of freelancing, just start. Because remember how I said it took me so long to start YouTubing because of my wall? Like, don't be the person who's like, I don't know how to start. And then that's stopping you from starting. There are so many resources out there. Even if all you did now was go find a website online and go rewrite it, you know, like rewrite it in a way that you think it could be better, you know, just start, because that's the only way you're going to know if it's right or if it's not right. So find out quicker so that you can either move on or move through and keep learning.
I love that tip. And I'm gonna be leaving Alex's social links in the description and also a link to Write and Ignite Challenge in case any of you are really serious about getting started with copywriting. I can vouch for it. Go ahead and just upskill yourself and start getting those clients who have been waiting for you. And thank you so much once again, Alex, for coming to my channel. It has been a pleasure talking to you.
Thank you so much, Helly. This was so much fun, and I'll come back anytime.